Hello, my name is Becky and I'm from PinksCharming.com. I'm going to show you how to recreate this summer casual look, I'm going to call it, using 4 products from the Love Lula beauty range, which are all natural with no horrible chemicals, including RMS Beauty Uncover Up, Pacifica Powder, Pacifica Aquarian Gaze Waterproof Mascara, and this lovely Pacifica palette. I'll just show you a little peek inside. So these products cost about £100 altogether, and they're all I've used, including doing my eyebrows. So they're the really good ones to take away on holiday. And here's how you do it. I have already prepped my face with this Kimberly Sayer moisturiser. You can use the base that I'm going to use without using a moisturiser underneath, but I would always recommend using an SPF, and this one has SPF 30 in it and is also really nice and light, so it's really great for oilier skins. So my first product is RMS Beauty Uncover Up, which is £34. It looks like you don't get very much, but actually a little goes a long way. I've been using this for quite a while now and I've still got plenty left. I've chosen the colour 11, which is okay for my skin because it has a slight tan, but in the winter I'll need to go down a shade to 00. So you can apply this with fingers or a brush, but I'm using one of these blender things and I've actually dampened it already, and that way you don't use as much product because it doesn't get absorbed into the sponge. So you just twist it in. I'm going to do this side of the face first so you can see, hopefully, the difference in coverage. So the best thing to do is just to splodge it on, basically. You don't have to be that accurate, which is nice. And you just kind of blob it on. This sponge is really good because it has a slight point to the end, so it's quite good for getting into the nooks and crannies around your eyes and nose. So you can probably see already there's a line down there, and that's where there's obviously no product. It looks actually in this light a little bit pale, but that's actually just because I haven't blended it in yet. So yeah, the best way to do it is sort of buff it into the skin, I guess, or kind of work it in rather than dragging it across. If you drag it, it just all comes off again, so it's pointless. I have got quite a lot of scarring on my cheeks from old acne scars, so it's a bit more difficult to cover those bits, and you can see I have this vein under my eye as well. So this, although I think it actually just claims to be quite a full coverage foundation, I actually think it's probably more of a medium one, but it is buildable. So if you've got really great skin, I think it would give you an amazing perfect finish. But if you've got a lot of scarring like me, you might find that you need to use some concealer on top of it. So there, hopefully you can see that's the done side and that's the not done side. So I think especially by my nose you can really see the difference there. So I'm just going to quickly do the other side. So you can see I'm managing to put it on quite quickly. And you can see actually on my lips where I've gone over them, it does give quite a good coverage. And then the best thing to do after you've completed this first step is, if you have any more kind of problem areas, to go over it with a brush and dab on an extra layer, which I will do in a minute. And this is just a little Eco Beauty Tools one. So this one's really great for just basically kind of the finer work. Actually, I was going to do some on my nose, but actually it looks pretty good. So again, just press it on rather than rubbing it over. I have these little spots of sun damage on my cheeks, which I got on as pregnant, which need a little bit of extra attention. If you're a parent like me, you might have this grey area around your eyes. So this does do a pretty good job of covering it up. But I'm going to show you a little trick in a minute that I've discovered. about how to give it a bit more reflection with the products that I've chosen. So yeah, this bit under my eye, I'm just going to dab on a bit more. And yeah, you can see it does make a bit of a difference. There's one little mark there. There we go. Okay, so that's basically your base. The little trick I'm going to show you now is with my Pacifica palette, which I'm going to be using later. This palette is really lovely. I'll explain more later, but it has quite a few different shades, and including these ones at the top are kind of a balm. So what I'm going to do is use my brush again and there's this goldy one. I'm just going to take a tiny little bit and just use that on the inside kind of corners of my eyes, and that just gives them a little lift basically, which you probably can't see here, and also just a bit on the top of my lip. Comes in this little tin, which looks really pretty. I don't know if you can see it very well, and I think it's aluminium, so it would be recyclable. So this is the shade. It's again quite dark for me at the moment. It's okay because I've got a slight tan, believe it or not. But if you've got more of a normal skin tone, it'd be fine. I don't know if I'll be able to use this in the summer though. I mean in the winter. So I'm just going to apply it with a brush, and again you just want to dab it on rather than kind of sweep it across like some powders you can, or some bases you can just sweep it off, but I wouldn't recommend that because that'll just drag it around and make it it makes it go lumpy. I have tried just to see. It's not great. So yeah, at the moment my skin feels quite tacky because of the RMS Beauty Uncover Up. So this will just give it more of a matte look and set it so that it should last pretty much the whole day. One thing I will say about this RMS Beauty, which is quite unusual, is that it tends to sort of look a bit better as the day goes on. Often I find with makeup, it looks great to start with and then you kind of start sweating through it, or you go out in the sun, or you just live in it and it goes a bit faded or lumpy or streaky or whatever. And this one actually I find looks kind of better with time, which is a nice change. So just dab over my eyes to set that. It has quite a bendy wand, and it's a rubbery one, which may or may not appeal. I tend to prefer natural fibre ones, but actually I find this one does separate really well. It's quite a dry formula, so you don't have to wait for ages for it to dry, and so it doesn't really smudge or anything, which is nice. I would say it's more of a natural look rather than a spectacular look. So it's kind of a good everyday, but if I was going out and wanted a bit more volume and a bit more length, I would choose PHB Ethical Beauty Mascara, which is my absolute favourite. But you can see, hopefully, the difference between my eyes. And it does separate quite nicely. Normally I'd have to use a lash comb, but actually this one I don't really need to. So there you can see that's without and that's with. And you can actually do your under eye, what do you call them, under eye lashes as well straight away without it smudging, which is nice if you're in a rush. And you can also do extra coats as well. So I'll just do my other eye. You get 3 balms across the top, which you can use on your eyes, lips or cheeks. Then you have a blusher and a bronzer. The blusher's got a slight shimmer to it and the bronzer is matte, so it's really great for contouring. And then you get 6 eyeshadows, and these ones have a slight shimmer to them. The dark brown is the least shimmery, which is perfect for me because I'm going to use that to define my eyebrows. The others all have a slight kind of shimmer, and you can pretty much apply them all with your fingers really. Although I'm going to start with the blush, so I'm going to use a brush for that. So it looks quite brownish in here, but actually once it's on, it's quite a nice pinky colour. See? It is a warm pink, so it's more, I would say it's more of a summer shade than a winter shade, if that makes sense. It gives you kind of more of a slightly tanned look, especially when you use the bronzer as well. So on this cheek, because I have these spots, I'm having to be a bit more careful blending that in. I've put a bit too much on this side, I think. So I'll even it up a bit. Foundation. So I'm just going to do the contouring now. I'm not any good at doing contouring, so I just do it really basically and kind of hope for the best. And this is quite pale, so well, not pale, quite light, so you can't really see it that much anyway, so you can't really go wrong with it, hopefully. There we go. It's a bit hard to tell because of the shadows, so yeah, I will probably just blend that off a bit later. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is use a bit of eyeshadow. I'm just going to use the very pale pink with my finger, and this one acts like a really good base. And it also absorbs any leftover oil from the foundation, which is good. You can also use that one just to highlight across your cheekbones. And again, Cupid's bow. So the next thing I'm going to do is use this really nice peach colour, which I will apply with a brush just because it's a bit easier to handle. I'm just going to dab that kind of over this part of my eyelid. That is very subtle, you can't really see it very well actually, but it is there. And then I'm going to use a little dab of the turquoise just in the middle. Eyebrows, I'm going to use the dark brown here, and I found this is quite good for defining eyebrows. Normally I use a pencil, but because I'm just trying to use just these 4 products, I found this is a good substitute. I'm applying it with a slanted brush, and that gives quite a good control. It's not too bad. I really overplucked my eyebrows in the 90s, so I'm trying to bulk them out a bit so they don't look so sparse. There we go, I think that'll do. Okay, and then finally, I'm just going to also add a touch of the dark brown to define my eyes a little bit. So I've got a little tiny brush and I'm going to dip it in some water. You can of course use it dry, but I just find it gives a better, kind of a crisper line if you do it with a slightly damp brush. I'm going to swing it out slightly. It is more difficult to do it this way than with a conventional pencil or pen eyeliner, I have to say. But it does give quite a nice soft look, so it's quite nice for summer. Okay, there we go. How does that look? Okay, so finally, I'm just going to use the peach shade of the Pacifica palette on my lips, just to give a little slight tint and gloss. And that's it. I hope you've enjoyed my tutorial. I really enjoy all these products, and I would recommend them, especially if you have slightly drier skin.